Hey folks, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, thanks for stopping by. Have a really kind of a short video for today and more of a how-to. In fact, there's going to be two videos I released this week that are sort of how-to oriented. What we're going to be working on in this video is doing some screen repair on my lanai. I have, as you can see behind me here, I'm inside my lanai right now, which is just basically a screened enclosure, very common here in the Florida area. And I have one panel, fortunately a smaller one, where I have a tear at the bottom and I need to, there's really no way to fix the tear, so I just need to replace the whole panel, and I'm going to show you how that's done. All right, so the panel that we're replacing is this one right here that the downspout comes down in front of, and the issue is right down here. You can maybe you can make that out and see the big hole that we have. Now you might be wondering, how did a hole get there? So here in Florida we have something known as citrus rats. I've also heard them referred to as gutter rats or roof rats, but my house is in a development that used to be an orange grove, huge orange grove. And where there's orange groves, there are citrus rats, and they're still present and around in the area. So we do take steps to get rid of them, and I haven't had any in a while. So that's an old piece of damage to my screen, but I'm pretty sure that is the cause. So of course, to replace this panel of screen, I'm going to need to take this downspout off. Not that big a deal, but we'll need to get easy access to it. And of course, I'll need to clear back some of the mulch away from the screen, and then we'll get started. First thing I'm going to do though is show you the tools that we're going to be using. Okay, so replacing screen is pretty easy as far as tools go. Just a simple box cutter. Use that. I have just a wire brush here just to clean out the area where the spline goes. Once I remove the old spline, I will use this brush just to clean out that groove, make sure there's nothing in there so that the new spline goes in okay. We have a spline tool, and it's one end is concave. Kind of depends on the type of spline that you're using as to which end of this you use. There is round spline and there's flat spline. So I'll be using the non-concave end for the spline. I'll be using a pair of scissors. I'll be using that to trim the actual screen itself. Of course, we have our spline here, and this is, again, it's about 30 feet, comes in a bag here, flat screening spline. And then we have our screen itself. It's just in the box here. And let's see if I can get this out. You can see, basically, it's just like what we have on the lanai now. This is a little bit heavier than what I currently have. What I'm doing over time is replacing the lower half of my screen with heavier. Sometimes this is referred to as hardware cloth, but in any event, the process that you're going to see is really no different than rescreening anything that requires screen, whether it be a screen door, a screen panel on an exterior or a window of your home. The process is exactly the same. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is take this downspout extension off. And in my case, there's only two screws that actually hold this downspout on, and that's here at this bracket. All right, so we've got our gutter out of our way. I do need to clear back some of this mulch. All right, and with that done, removing this old screen is not very scientific. It's going to be pretty well attached, especially if it's been in a few years. The spline gets stiffer and can be a little bit difficult to pull out, but you're just going to have to use a little bit of strength. The best way to do it, I have found, will start like this. Just to get the old screen out of the way, and then we're going to come back and actually start removing the spline. So one thing to note is the vertical portion of this spline on this panel actually continues uninterrupted even beyond this panel below, and continues up without interruption to the panel above. So we'll end up having to cut the spline here. We'll use our razor knife to do that with, or a box cutter. And the same thing on this side, and the top and the bottom are obviously just separate pieces, so not an issue there. So that's going to be our next step here, is to start to get this out. Okay, I did solicit or added one more tool, and that is a very thin screwdriver, just to make it a little bit easier to get behind this spline and pry it out. And then of course I have my pliers. There we go. Yeah, once you get this started, it comes out pretty easy. The flat, and I don't know if that's how well that shows up, the flat spline, if it's installed correctly, holds much, much better than round spline. So, and this clearly was installed correctly because it's harder to remove. But again, once you get it started, it comes out pretty easy. So let me just go ahead and continue with this, and we'll get the top and bottom pieces out. Then we'll cut the two side pieces and get those out. Now, the one thing we're going to do with these vertical pieces, we're going to start by getting them loosened at the bottom, pull them up. That way, when we get to the top up here, it'll be much easier to cut this spline than it is to try and cut it while it's still actually installed. So let's keep going. Make sure that is reinstalled. So yeah, that should work just fine. Now the next step is going to be just running a wire brush. Just make sure we don't have any remaining screen or any other debris in here. This is going to be especially important in my case here at the bottom, because there is all kind of dirt that has worked its way into the groove. Now we are ready to measure up and go cut our screen. Okay, so our next step here is we are going to measure this, and we want to make sure that we leave probably at least a couple of inches on each side. So however tall and wide this is, we want to add at least 4 inches to each side so that we have plenty to work with. So I'm just going to go right up just beyond this here, come right over here. Well, if my tape measure will stay put. So I'm going to call that, so the opening is about 37. I'm going to go about 41 in that direction. And then we'll measure our height. And we'll go about 42. Yeah, we'll go about, actually I'm going to go about 43 for our heights. Okay, so what I've done is I've laid my screen out on a picnic table here, and interestingly enough, this is not the screen that I was showing earlier in the video. I decided that I was going to pick up some heavier screen material. We have a cat, and the cat tends to hang right in this corner where this part of the patio enclosure is at. So after factoring that in, I decided I want something that was pet proof, and this is a coated fiberglass screen that makes it much heavier and durable, so that if our cat decides to try and jump up on it, something like that, that it will stand up to that. So again, a little bit heavier. Otherwise, everything else is the same. The installation procedure is the same as well. So we're going to cut this. This is actually 48 inches wide. I'm not going to worry about cutting this down to the exact dimensions. I do want it 41 inches in one direction. So what I'm going to do is just measure 41 inches from the end here back in this direction, and then just cut straight across. And then we'll have the piece that we need to reattach to our enclosure. So there we go. We have our piece of fabric, and we're just going to take it over and get ready to install it. Okay, one thing I wanted to show you here is on the spline itself. I don't know how well that is showing up, but the spline is actually not perfectly flat. It's flat on one side and rounded on the other. So when we use this spline, the flat side will face inward when we're putting the spline in place. So just something to remember if you're using the flat spline. The other thing that I've done is I've gone ahead and cut pieces of spline ahead of time. I just took my tape measure and I measured each, the top and the bottom and the two sides, to see what length of spline I needed, and just measured that out and cut pieces. Okay, we're going to get started here. And what I have found when installing or making screen repairs in place, like in this situation where you have a pool enclosure and you're working with an existing system that is already in place, it's better to start with the top spline and then work the two sides and then finally finish with the bottom. So we'll take that approach. Okay, so we have the left side. We still have to do some trimming. The top and our right side. So all I have left is the bottom, and that's when we'll get this pulled. It's already fairly taut, but when we get the bottom spline in place, it'll really be nice and tight. Then we'll come back and I'll show you how we trim it. Okay, there we go. We have it all installed. Now we just have to come back and trim the excess out. Okay, for this last step, we're going to use a razor knife to cut off the excess screen. And you want to make sure this blade is super, super sharp. So if at all possible, use a box cutter, some sort of razor knife. Make sure it has a fresh blade in it. It's going to make the job go a lot easier and with a lot better results. Now, when we cut this, we want to cut on the upper side of where our spline is. And as close to this, right where my thumb is at. So we just have to go slowly, make sure we are not getting down into the spline. And as long as our spline is installed properly, we don't have to worry about the screen slipping out or anything. But yeah, we just want to go to the outside of the spline and take our razor knife and just carefully score that, and it will make a nice clean install, and I'll show you that now. And we are done. So that is it. We've got everything fully screened in now. All of our spline is in. We've got everything trimmed. The tension on this is excellent. And so all we've got to do is just put our gutter back up, and we're going to call this job done. All right, so there we go. We're all done. Turned out pretty nice, and a little bit more difficult because of the heavier duty screen that I used, but it was worth the effort. So that's got that job out of the way, and time to move on to the next one. We have one other sort of how-to project that we're going to be getting onto to be in a separate video, so stay tuned for that. Everyone stay healthy, and thanks for sticking around and watching the video, and we'll see you on the next one.